Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning Five here on Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. I am Dave Biddle. I'll be joined by Matt Baxendell in just a moment. I probably should have sent Bax the link to the show, which I forgot to do. So I'm going to send that to him right now. But welcome in, my friends. 2 days and counting to the Cotton Bowl. Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him. Playoff semifinals. It's just crazy how fast it gets here. Bear with me as I send back this belated link to the show. So we're gonna have a fun show. We're gonna delve into just kind of how we're feeling about this game. With it a little more than 48 hours away. Buckeyes leave later today. They practice in Columbus this afternoon, and then they head to Don Scott Ohio State Airport, and then they head down to Dallas. They'll get to Dallas at about 7:10 p.m. Central Time. And there you go. So we'll get Bax on here in just a moment. I finally got him the link. But welcome into the show. I also want to let you guys know before we bring Bax in here about our returning sponsor, Joy Mode. Joy Mode is the all-natural sexual performance booster, and we have a great deal for you guys. Joy Mode features just 4 simple proven ingredients. It's all natural. Unlike prescription options that involve doctor visits and managing refills, that's always a hassle. Joy Mode provides a straightforward, effective solution. Join over 200,000 men who trust Joy Mode to boost their performance without any side effects. If you're looking to take your game to the next level, visit tryjoy. Let me do that again. If you're looking to take your game to the next level, visit tryjoymode.com. Use code Bucknuts at checkout for 20% off single purchases and 30% off subscription orders. That's tryjoymode.com. Use code Bucknuts for 20% off single purchases and 30% off subscription orders. Again, tryjoymode.com. Use code Bucknuts. There you go. So here we are, 2 days away. And my my vibe on the game, I think the Buckeyes are going to win, but I just hope they're not overconfident. If they can keep this edge that they've had through the first 2 playoff games, look out. I don't like that they're playing Texas in Texas, but it's not like it's going to be a home game for the Longhorns. I think it'll be at least 40% Buckeyes. Won't shock me at all if it's 50-50. Although, you're playing 3 hours away from Austin, so you got to think there's going to be more Texas fans than Ohio State fans. Maybe not. Bringing Matt Baxendell now. Sorry about not sending you the link. Kind of hard to join the show if I don't send you the link.
Dave, sometimes I have superhuman abilities, and this is not one of them, is to join the internet shows with you whenever I don't have access. But now you've let me in, and I'm happy to be here.
My strategy really was, you missed my my first ad read, so that was my strategy. I guess
I'm sure they're a wonderful sponsor, whoever they were.
Joy Mode. Yeah. Patrick Murphy is spreading the word, man. People love Joy Mode. Over 200,000 men use Joy Mode. It's a lot of men. You could almost start an army with that many men. All right. Where are you at vibe-wise? Like, I think the Buckeyes are going to win, but I also have like the nervous side of me is like, I just hope they can keep that edge that they've had. Hope they're not overconfident. Not thrilled about playing Texas in Texas, but I don't think that's a huge factor. So my vibes, I'm feeling good. I'm not feeling like, crazy over the top confident though. Where are you at?
I'm feeling pretty good about where we're at with this group. I don't think Texas is super duper. I think Texas is a byproduct of a bad SEC this year. Playing in Texas doesn't concern me as much, especially with the fact that there's going to be winter weather. It's going to make it harder for people to get to the game. I think at the end of the day, the reality here is that the further we get into these big playoff kind of situations, you kind of wonder with the neutral site games how the crowd's going to be anyways. I don't think there's going to be some road atmosphere. I know OSU's preparing for it, but let's face it, a lot of people are keeping their powder dry money-wise for a championship game if they go. But I think these semifinals and finals are going to be a lot more Super Bowl style with corporate seats, with not as many fans that are at these games. And you'll have a good crowd, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's a home field advantage. It's not like this game's being played in Austin.
Right. Like on their I mean, that would be, as we know, I mean, geez, that'd be a completely different ballgame. Although it was funny, like the last time they had a home and home, Texas won here, and then Buckeyes like stomped them the next year.
I went to both of those games,
Nice.
including the Texas game.
I was at the one in Columbus. I covered it. I actually stayed. We only sent one. I think Steve was the only one that went for our from our site. Maybe Gary Housedew, the late great Gary Housedew, went with him as well to take pictures. But I remember that was just a lot of fun just watching them kick off that 2006 season, just kicking the crap out of Texas. Troy Smith and Ted Ginn just putting on a show.
So I was a student. That was my last year at Ohio State, and me and a couple buddies, shout out Mike Morelli, Jim Cornell, we got tickets through OSU, and I sat next to the band 7 rows off the field in the south end zone. And if you recall, right before halftime, Ted Ginn Jr. torched one of their cornerbacks to get deep, and you could hear from the stands. And if you go back and watch the highlight, he turns and looks like he says something to the corner as he's running into the end zone. Oh, I can tell you what he said. And at the top of his lungs, the whole stadium could hear him yell, "Bitch!" in his face as he caught the ball going in the end zone. And that was how the game essentially ended. It was 24-7, I believe, was the final. Buckeyes went to the national championship game that year. And the Texas fans were very accommodating. It was a great experience. And, these are two of the biggest programs in college football, I mean, of all time. So it's a great matchup for TV. I don't know if they could have asked for 4 better programs than the ones that they have in the semis at this point. But, it's also really interesting, Dave, to me that Texas had made exactly one Big 12 championship in like the last, 8 years they were in the conference, and now they're magically already the SEC last standing team. It's very interesting to see what happens when it changes.
Texas's schedule, what do you make of it? It hasn't been an easy schedule, but the SEC is also, as we know, I mean, to say they were down this year is an understatement. They lost to Georgia twice. Those are their only 2 losses. I don't know. I mean, their schedule was okay. It's not as tough as Ohio State's. Ohio State started off easy, and then it was like you had fun. Tell me Ohio State's schedule is easy, starting with right around the at an Oregon game. You have to play Oregon twice in the same year. Play Penn State. You play Indiana. So what do you make of Texas's schedule? How battle tested are they?
Well, they did go to Michigan and slaughter them. So that's something to be said for that. But if you look at the rest of Texas's schedule, I said this about Tennessee. The Tennessee had only played 2 games against the top groups in the SEC, and they went 1-1. They beat Alabama. They lost to Georgia. Texas lost twice to Georgia. Texas beat Aggie. Other than that, in the regular season, the only team better than 500 that they played in the SEC was Florida, who went 7-5. So it's another one of these SEC teams that's avoided the top echelon. And if you look at what they've done against the top SEC teams that they did play, Georgia beat them twice. And other than that, their best win was Florida. And they struggled with Arizona State. And I don't know about you, buddy, but Arizona State, they should have lost. It's 4th and 13, and somehow you give up a 28-yard touchdown or whatever it was.
And the targeting that wasn't. And I usually err on the side of they call targeting too often. That was textbook targeting. I don't know what the replay officials are just corrupt, but you guys have heard me say that a million times. So
go back to the Clemson game in 2019, and then I don't think anybody will ever argue that.
Yeah, 20. That's the best example, though. That is Exhibit A is the 2019 Fiesta Bowl. Them not calling targeting on Sean Wade on the field, but then the replay official buzzing down to call targeting. Okay, whatever. But the
review of the fumble.
The fumble is the most egregious thing I've ever seen. For them to call that a touchdown on the field, and then video backs it up. He caught it, took 3 steps. The ball didn't move.
He's doing this with the ball in his hand, like he's like Jay Uso yeeting with the ball.
He took 3 steps. Justin Ross did. Then he gets stripped, returned for a touchdown, called a touchdown on the field, and Gerald Hodges was the guy's name. The replay official, he overturns it. I mean, it's just that guy was either on the take or just the most incompetent guy ever. I'll go with the former.
They were SEC refs when the SEC already had their champion in the national championship game, and the SEC review guys were based at SEC home office. And twice SEC home office rang in to get the Ohio State guys a negative outcome. It literally flipped 14 points in like a 2-point game. I don't know how else. I hate that I got in trouble at the time for this, so sorry for bringing it up again here. But if there's ever evidence of a game that was corrupted, it was the 2019 Clemson-Ohio State game. Total and utter farcical officiating from those review guys. It swung the game 14 points and probably cost Ohio State a national title.
I want to let you guys know about an awesome app that I've been using, Rocket Money. I highly recommend it to you guys. Rocket Money is a personal finance app. Helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions. It monitors your spending and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. I like all of that. It's like check, 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 check. All of that. Give me all of that. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of 500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/gameon today. That's rocketmoney.com/gameon. rocketmoney.com/gameon. Like even a guy like Dan Rubin, who has more money than he'll ever know what to do with, uses it. I mean, you never have too much money where you can't like save some money. So if you're saving $740 a year by using Rocket Money to kind of get your finances in order, saving $740 is a good thing. Like even if you're filthy rich, Oakwood style Dan Rubin, I really hope he's watching the show so he knows my dry humor. Sometimes it's wet humor, but right now it's dry humor. All right.
Between this and me bringing up the Clemson game from 2019 again, he's probably pulling his hair out.
I probably get more pissed than anybody about that. I was sitting in the press box. I mean, at least my buddy Kevin Noon is the only one that almost started a fight in the press box with something. He was like complaining about what the terrible calls, and one of the Clemson student newspaper guys had the audacity to tell him no cheering in the press box. He wasn't cheering. They literally almost got into a fight, which was hilarious. I was just sitting there just stewing. I was sitting next to Heater. Heater's right next to me. I think he lived down there at the time. I think he lived like in the Phoenix area. I was just so pissed off, like, because I knew that got stolen from Ohio State. Now, Ohio State had their own problems. They shouldn't have settled for so many field goals. They should have just blown them out, but that game was stolen from them. Yeah, why'd you bring that up? All right, back to Texas.
Because Texas beat Clemson, and that's why we always like to see Clemson lose is that game. That was a nothing burger opponent for us until that game.
Well, and 2016 with them like grabbing Ohio State's players' crotches. You remember
that? Was really weird where they were diving in to that was I forgot how weird.
What was that D tackle's name? He ended up being a first-round pick, but he flamed out. I guarantee you 15 people in the comment section right now will remember that D tackle from Clemson that I'm talking about.
Oh, I mean, it was terrible. That was like awful, but it was also an awful football game. So
it was.
I don't know.
Let's just talk about the 2020 Clemson game. No, but seriously,
let's hope that we keep getting the Ryan Day from the 2020 Clemson game because he's been back in the playoff. I like this version of him a lot more.
Curious to get your take on this Texas offensive line and just them giving up a decent amount of sacks this year. They've given up 33 sacks. A lot of that could be on Quinn Ewers, though. He's not the most mobile quarterback back there. Not that he's a complete statue, but he's statue adjacent. he's closer to a statue than he is like a mobile quarterback. But yeah, man, but they've got talent on this offensive line, to say the least. I saw a mock draft yesterday that has Kelvin Banks as the number one offensive lineman off the board, going like 4th overall. Every mock draft I'd seen before that had Will Campbell as the first offensive lineman off the board, and Cameron Williams also some project as a late first-round pick. So they've got really – now he's a little banged up. I don't know what the status is.
He didn't play against Arizona State. So
and didn't they have somebody else that got banged up, I think, on their offensive line that came back in the game against Arizona State? So they're a little banged up, but they're very talented. But this Ohio State defense, man, they're just playing with their hair on fire. They're so veteran. They're peaking at the right time. They're on the same page. Jim Knowles is just drawing it up perfectly. They're hitting, but they're still tackling well. It's it's one thing to be like, we're going to go out there, we're going to hit them hard. But the number one thing is you better be sure tacklers. They're doing that, and they're getting after the quarterback backs. I absolutely love this. So I think this is a matchup advantage for Ohio State. But granted, Texas has a lot of talent on that offensive line, and Sark is so good as a play caller.
Yeah, and he's really sneaky with screens. Like that's something with Texas. They set up all kinds of exotic screens, and that's something that they do really well. And so if you're, Ohio State coming in this game, I think the things that you're most worried about in terms of giving up points, A, the screen game, and B, the return game. Those are the two things that Texas does really well. At the end of the day, that guy. At the end of the day, I think if you're Ohio State, you got to be really, really, really smart in the return game. And we saw with Arizona State how they gave up a early punt return, and then after that, they didn't even kick the ball to the guy the rest of the game. So I'd be concerned about that. And then I think the screens are the big thing. But you're right. Like, they've given up a number of sacks this year. Ewers isn't mobile. He has that weird flippy sidearm motion, or like it's weird watching him throw. Like, everybody asked me, like, oh man, what do you think it would have been like if we had Quinn Ewers? And I was like, my hair would have been pulled out by now watching that arm motion. It's so low. And when Ohio State's been batting down footballs lately,
he looks like
a lot of footballs.
He looks like a server at a restaurant when he throws it. I was watching him. He looks like a server at a restaurant when he throws, like when he holds it back like this.
It's like he's holding a tray. And like spins his elbow over.
Yeah, and a lot of times he'll just throw dimes like that. That was ice cold. Give him his props. And Sark too. Sark looked like he was calling a play in the second quarter up 21-0 or something. He was just like da 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 da. And then Ewers like, okay, 4th and 13, season on the line. Bam, throws a dime in the back of the end zone. It's like shit.
I cannot believe the Arizona State safety got sucked down on that. Their one job is not let him over the top.
Right, deeper than the deepest, man. You better be deeper.
And I will say this, Dave. I've read that people are like, well, Texas has some receivers that really could give OSU more trouble than Oregon's receivers. And my answer to that is, did you watch the game in October? No, they don't. Oregon had the fastest set of deep threats that we've played against all year. I genuinely think that Ohio State is going to get to Ewers before a lot of these deep routes are going to be able to get like fully developed for him to hit these passes. And the other thing with Ewers is he has a bad pick or two in him almost every game if you watch him. So to me, I think Texas is going to try to rely on the screens. I think Texas is going to not ask Ewers to do too much here. For all his arm talent, his decision-making still isn't as good as it could be. And defensively, I think the return game is going to be a big deal. If we don't give up anything bad in the return game, then Ohio State's pretty primed to keep Texas to a pretty low score.
This is crazy. I gotta say this. So Mika, we did our staff predictions. We're going to post that maybe later today, at the latest tomorrow. I already sent mine in, and I picked Carnell Tate as the player of the game because, I think they're going to, just what Mika is saying here. I think they're going to focus. Why would you not on JJ and Emeka, especially JJ? I think Carnell Tate might, find himself. Obviously, he's going to be single covered. You can't double Carnell Tate. What do you get? We're going to double Carnell Tate and leave JJ single covered. No, they play a lot of zone. Actually, Texas's defense. I tend to think they mix things up though, but they play a ton of zone. But yeah, man, I
played zone on JJ. Good luck. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, good luck anyways. But
it's funny looking at the advanced stats. Like, is JJ better against zone or man this year? It's like, yes. Like, wait, what? Like, he's cooking both. It doesn't matter what you do. He cooks you if you do man. He cooks you if you double him, if you triple him. There was that play in the Oregon game. I love the picture. It's not going to maybe go right down with Eddie George against Notre Dame in '95 or Zach Boren or some of the, most famous Buckeye pictures we can think of, but it might be up there. You have 3 Oregon guys, and Will throws it up, and JJ just goes up, the man again amongst boys catch. So, yeah, but Texas has a fantastic secondary. Oregon had a lot of, we'll use a politically correct term, a lot of little people in the secondary. I wasn't going to say what I was going to say, which really shouldn't be that offensive. I was watching the Tom Segura special. That really shouldn't be an offensive word, but it is. So
there's a lot of words that shouldn't be offensive.
They had a lot of little people in their secondary. Seriously, 5'10", 180 dudes, 5'9". Yeah. Texas's dudes are like NFL guys. But I've never seen anything like Jeremiah Smith. When you have Emeka Egbuka as your number 2 and Carnell Tate as your number 3, that's insane.
Well, and that's Ohio State's strength here. And I think the biggest thing for Ohio State isn't going to be whether those guys are open. It's going to be, hey, is the line going to give Will Howard the time to throw the football? I mean, remember, they have the Thorpe Award winner on that team. So they've got a good D line. I think you have to really look at it from that perspective of, if you're Texas, you have to disrupt Will Howard. You have to hope he makes one of those boneheaded decisions that we haven't seen in a while. And I think for them that means you need to take advantage of Ohio State's patchwork O line that did really well the first 2 games. Let's not be wrong here at all. But the end of the day, Ohio State's advantage the rest of this season is, look at these wide receivers. Nobody can touch them on other teams. And you have to give Will the time to find them. Because if you give Will the time to find him, he's going to find him. I saw a thing on Twitter, and it was a picture from an NFL game, and it was a gunner that had 3 guys lined up on him on the punt coverage. And I'm like, that's how they're going to try to cover JJ. Just put 3 guys on him. But the problem is they can't do that because, like you said, Emeka Ibuka casually just making one-hand 40-yard touchdown grabs whenever he's getting the ball. So for OSU, the key is to keep Will Howard to have the time to throw and find his receivers. That is the key to the football game for me. Because if Texas can't get to Will Howard, OSU is going to keep scoring 40.
That's exactly what I'm going to ask you next. I'm going to get your thoughts on this offensive line. Can they have in my opinion, surprisingly a great performance again? I thought they played great against Tennessee. I thought they played great against Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Were they perfect? No, nobody's going to be perfect, but they're really good. Oh, I mean, Factor's perfect, though. One more ad read for you guys. You guys know I love Factor. Great deal for you guys, too. You guys got to check this out. Love Factor meals. Factor has high-quality, great-tasting, healthy meals that are fresh and never frozen. They're ready in just 2 minutes. No prep, no mess, nothing to clean up. It's awesome. Trust me. In addition to all of their meals that I love, like blackened salmon and filet mignon and chicken and mushrooms with the sun-dried tomatoes. I could go on and on. But Factor has a bunch of other stuff, too, other than their fantastic meals. They can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. Can't stress that enough. Convenience that can't be beat. Ready in 2 minutes. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/bucknuts50 off and use code bucknuts50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code bucknuts50 off at factormeals.com/bucknuts50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. It's a fantastic deal. Half off. It's fantastic. All right. O-line. Texas's defense is legit. Now, have they played a lot of good offenses? No. But they're still the number 2 statistical defense in the country behind the Ohio State University. So very good defense. Can this O-line hold up again?
Well, they did the first 2 times in the playoffs, and I would tell you I think Oregon is a better D-line than Texas does, although Texas does have a very good D-line. That's going to be the big thing, though, and that's kind of been the story here, Dave, right? With all the things that have happened to the OSU O-line this year, here they are still standing with a 3-man guard rotation somehow in the playoff semifinal after 2 blowouts where they scored 40 points. It probably could have scored more if they needed to. At the end of the day, like it's a very impressive defensive line or offensive line performance that we've seen. This is something that we'll talk about for a very long time. If they end up winning out at this point. And, for Ohio State, I think that's where we're at right now, is that the story of the season right now is how this line is performing. And if they keep it up, then they're going to be able to push Ohio State to the national championship game. And that's going to be the entire, I think, story for this entire game. How are they going to hold up against this line? Because if Will Howard is time to throw, that's all she wrote.
We see Deetra Sanchez is in here, mother of Devin Sanchez, who is already at Ohio State. And I know this because I was leaving the WAC one day, and I about bumped in to a football player that was coming in the WAC as I'm leaving. We just finished a Ryan Day press conference. I'm walking out. This young man, we about bump into each other. He apologized. I apologize. And I was like, man, I recognize. Who is this guy? I cover this team. I know this guy. And very nice young man. He walks in, I walk out, I'm walking, and I go, oh, that was Devin Sanchez. So Deetra, I about literally bumped into your son. So That wouldn't have been very nice of me, but he's a very nice young man. All right, I want to answer this question from Jermaine on Facebook. Do you guys see the weather postponing the game? I do not. It seems like they're going to get hit with something tomorrow.
Or is it in the drawer?
What's that?
I'm listening to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been watching this. I mean, I got some guys that are already down there. It's really windy down there today, but they're not expecting anything. Tomorrow is when if they get snow and ice is supposed to hit, but it's not going to be nearly as bad as what they initially thought. So I don't think they're going to postpone this game. I think they're going to play this game on Friday as expected. What do you think? You don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows, Bax, but you do need a weatherman to know if it's going to this game's going to get postponed. But no, I don't think it will. I don't think it will, Jermaine.
I think the game's not getting postponed either. I strongly disagree with it being postponed anyways, because it's just a disadvantage for Ohio State. Look, I made a joke about this on Twitter the other day. I said, I really would love for it to be Saturday night because as a fan, that's a much better night for viewing for me personally. But if it gets delayed, then you give an extra night or 2 nights of rest then for the Notre Dame Penn State winner, right? And then that's an offset difference in terms of, competitive advantage for the national championship. And look, let's be real here. Like, I lived in Atlanta. I know how the South gets when it gets into weather, but North Texas at least has some understanding of snow. It's not like Atlanta. Remember that time Tom Herman got stuck on the highway for 19 hours? I remember when my oldest son was born, we got 8 inches of snow, and it shut the city down for a week because they didn't have enough plow trucks to plow the city. Look, Texas understands a little bit about snow. It's an indoor game. And at the end of the day, I already said this earlier. These are going to be a little bit of a more sanitized corporate crowd anyways. You can play the game without the fans all getting there. This happened to a Super Bowl a couple years back. I think it was Steelers-Packers or someone like that, 10, 12 years ago. There's a big ice storm. Oh, no, is the Super Bowl going to be able to be there, right? And they had the game on time. So this is absolutely going to be on time. The game is going to start when we expected it to start. And I'm not that concerned about it, and I really don't want it to be from a competitive advantage. That's the reality of it. And I think that's a perfectly acceptable thing. We've had enough delayed games this college football playoff already with the Islamic fundamentalist terror attack down in New Orleans. So let's just get this game as scheduled, move forward, and let's start looking forward to a national championship if the Buckeyes can hopefully win this one.
Listen, the game might be in Texas, but we're bringing the Ohio weather down with us. I'll tell you that, buddy. Maybe we should bring some snow plows and some salt. They don't have much down there. You're right.
They'd be happy to take that.
They're just, and why? I get it. Like, if you're in Atlanta, you're in Texas, like, you're not going to stock up on like snow plows if you're a city and like salt that you're probably not going to need. But then when you do need it, 1 inch, 2 inches can like shut down your city. So hopefully everything's going to be okay. I think it will be.
Yes.
Before I get you out of here, man, this defense, we've talked, I mean, obviously they're playing great. They're getting after the quarterback, but I love the schematic changes that, Jim Knowles has made that isn't getting a lot of pub because they don't want to throw it out there. But, Caleb Downs basically being a hybrid Mike, Cody Simon turning into like just an absolute werewolf. We could go on and on. There's a lot of praise to go around on this defense, but Caleb Downs playing that kind of hybrid Mike, goes back, plays safety, comes up in the box, does a little bit of everything. I think that's just kind of like been like the cheat code that's unlocked everything. And this defense is playing at such an extremely high level, man. I just hope they can do it for 2 more games. And I think they will.
Well, Downs is playing as Polamalu-y as I've ever seen anybody.
That's your boy. Play. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, we give him some long hair in a Pert Plus commercial, and that's what we're looking
fan like me has the utmost respect for Troy Polamalu. I don't think that guy. He's so gosh darn good.
And he's so funny. Hi guys, Troy is here right now, and I love playing football, and I love my hair. It's so wonderful. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Oh, I'm sorry I hit you so hard, but those are the rules.
Knocks you out.
Yeah. There's like he looks like a total Samoan wild man, and when you hear him talk, he's like the nicest guy on the planet. There's never been a better example of like teddy bear out of uniform than Troy Polamalu, but in uniform he is a devil, and that's what Caleb Downs is right now. That's for sure. I will say this, Dave. It's kind of the defense. Everything goes back to that loss to Oregon, and really the theme of the season, if Ohio State completes this playoff run and does end up winning the big gun, it's going to be the theme of the season is going to be, what have they done out of the 2 losses? And the first one was the Oregon game. The defense absolutely changed after that. And there's no comparing the defense that we saw. The boring milk toast, rush 4, drop back, give Dylan Gabriel all day, don't attack anything, never blitz defense that we saw in October against Oregon. And now compare that to the team we saw against Oregon in the Rose Bowl, night and day. And night and day in a way that was sort of what we all expected to see from the Jim Knowles defense. I've been saying this for 2 months, 3 months now, whatever it's been since that game out in Oregon, that, we're seeing a schematic change in total control of the defense going to Jim Knowles. And it's shown up in the way his players are attacking the football. I mean, not only are they playing excellent defense and covering, I mean, even David Sinigma-Nosen, he's kind of got in trouble with some of the handsy stuff that he's done this year, defended a ball off the top of his helmet, like things are going your way. But they were killing dudes that first quarter. I mean, there were multiple times where people got hit, and I went, oh, because you could hear it. It was like, you could literally, like on the broadcast from wherever Fowler and Herbstreit were, you could hear the helmets cracking despite 100,000 people there. And they broke 2 helmets on Tennessee's quarterback in the first game. So this defense is playing with a serious grudge whenever they're coming in and hitting people. And schematically, it's been an utter different change. You could pick this defense, and you could pick 6 guys that could be the difference maker, the X factor on it, the way they're playing right now. And that's another edge Ohio State has. These are the 2 statistical best defenses in the country. But number 1 is Ohio State, and there's a gap. Yeah. And I think the way they're playing, it's well-deserved. So it's going to be really interesting to see because, like you said, Texas's tackles have given up some sacks. Ewers isn't that mobile. They don't have the world's most pounding run game. And I think the big thing is going to be the screen game. But you know what? The way you blow up screens is A, recognition, and B, having Troy Polamalu, a.k.a. Caleb Downs, on your team. So Ohio State's set up pretty well to handle whatever Sarkisian has to throw at them. I mean, I'm confident. This team, the last 2 games, Dave, has been the team that all the lunatic fringe has been expecting to see all season, and I expect it's going to continue.
Let's go lunatic fringe versus Longhorns. I'm feeling good about it. I'm not like crazy overconfident, but I'm confident. Yeah, man. I mean, this defense, it's just crazy. And you look at the 9 seniors that start on this defense. 3 of them are 5th-year seniors. You have 1 junior, Sonny Styles. You have 1 sophomore, Troy Polamalu, a.k.a. Caleb Downs. And it's just fantastic, man. I mean, it's so veteran. They're so talented, but they're also so veteran. That's just the ultimate combination. And the depth. The depth. You've got, a guy like Jermaine Matthews coming off the bench who's actually playing a lot right now. Sophomore, but extremely talented. A lot more of the backup defensive linemen are playing. Juniors, Kenyatta Jackson, Caden Curry. Those are your backups. I absolutely love it. All right. I'll get you out of here. Thanks to Bax. Great stuff as always from Bax. We'll see if I can bug him to come on the post-game show. Maybe not. It'll be a late night adventure, but we'll see. The invitation will be extended for sure to my guy, Matt Baxendell, the People's Champ. Make sure you read his column every Sunday. It's fantastic. It's The Bucket. You can catch it on Bucknuts every Sunday morning. So thanks to Bax. Thanks to all of you. Really appreciate you guys being loyal listeners. And Dan will be back with you guys tomorrow. I'll be back with you. Doubleheader action on Friday. We got Bucknuts Morning 5. What we learned live after Ohio State versus Texas in the semifinals. Thanks to Bax. Thanks to all of you. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.